Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Liv from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
If you've ever wanted to take your health and life to a whole new level, then do we have the show for you. Today we'll talk about the power of challenging yourself, why you want to do it, what it looks like, and how it can change your life. That plus we'll talk about IRS Miracles, Jessica in the gym, group coaching fun, the importance of getting cold, freedom, fun, and work, shakes and hives, and what getting kitty litter and date night have in common. Gotcha. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine.
Woo! So, usually I like asking you a question to start, but I'm still almost just rubbing the tears out of my eyes. We got a call, or we took a call. You were stuck in traffic. We delayed starting the interview by just a few minutes. While you're doing that, I had to give a call back to our beautiful auditor for our audit from 2012. So this has been going on for 5 years now. And you don't know what the call is going to be, and you go, okay, got to step into the unknown. I did a half hour this morning of holding my tax documents in my hand and doing ho'oponopono. I love you. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you. It doesn't mean that I did anything wrong, but sending out this prayer of healing into the universe for half an hour this morning, holding this document. That's my morning meditation. And so I go, okay, it's in between interviews. Breathe deep. Call. Thank you, Michael. It was a pleasure working with both of you guys. You have proven everything. You owe nothing.
Amazing. How are you feeling? Because this has been a weight on your shoulder since 2012. And so how are you feeling, and what kind of lesson did you learn about yourself and just generally from going through this whole process? Because it's very stressful.
I have a hard time not crying. It was, I'll just talk with my eyes closed. It was by far the most difficult thing we've ever gone through in our lives. It was the akin to when we lost Bammy, our corkscrew-tailed Japanese bobtail. The shock of losing him when we came back from a farmer's market and there he was, dead, carried to the side of the road. We don't even know what happened. It's like facing that day after day. That level of fear and dread. And it's really, what an amazing spiritual teacher. But every time there's a new letter that comes in, every time there's a new correspondence, every time there is and this was returning a phone call, which I got right before teaching my group class yesterday, and I'm like, I know there was a deadline, we got everything in, but maybe she needs to call back right away, but I still have to do. We lost between 1 year and 2 of our lives. When I say lost, we're hyper-perfectionists. We try to do the best we can. And we got into a place of fear where instead of focusing on what we're building for the future and how to bring income in, we were focused on defending ourselves and defending our lives. While you do need to be prudent, by focusing on what's behind you and trying to fix the past, you can't move forward. And we actually created a lot of I don't know if damage is the right word. We ended up putting ourselves in a very difficult position by being in defense for 2 years. That's what got Jessica sick. At the end of the day, she got mold toxicity because she was worn into the ground because this audit that just kept on coming and coming back and coming back, and she cracked. And physically cracked. It just wore her immune system out to where she was susceptible. And then we didn't expect last year, right before Christmas, it came back again. We thought it was done, and it came back again. And then we thought we had things taken care of, and it was gone. We're good. We're happy. And it came back again. And what an incredible spiritual teacher and harder than heck thing. So I feel for anybody going through this. There's so many lessons about being strong on your own 2 feet, being kind and gentle with everybody, about we have a car log that we fill out daily when we drive everywhere now. Everywhere. I mean, dotting your I's, crossing your T's in life. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. So many different lessons. The one that comes to mind most that Jessica would bring up if she was on the mic right now is treating everybody like a human being. When we got assigned this new auditor's beautiful human being, we got assigned her a few months ago. We treated her with nothing but respect and love and kindness every step of the way. When we went into the audit, we went in for the examination. I mean, you're put on the hot seat. This is the the moment. We went in as I approach every big event in our life or every interview, and I said, and we both said, no matter what happens today, our goal is number one, first and foremost, to make a new friend. And we did that. And we did that. And we defended ourselves, but we defended ourselves from a non-defense point of view. A defense is typically you're hitting a ball back, which is actually an offense at the same time. We did it as more of a Tai Chi move of bring it in, absorb it, and try to find the best solution. And it worked. It's such a spiritual thing, and it worked. I can see your gears turning here.
No, okay. So, because what I'm picking up from this is that it's a metaphor for life, right? Because what we do is, as we're moving forward, we spend a lot of time and energy defending our past, right? And sometimes our fixation and defending and making sense of our past causes us to not move forward because we have something stuck in the past. And so to me, it makes you ill, right? For not moving forward, there's a sense of making you ill. A lot of your attention and focus is on the past, which means that you're not thinking about your future, and you're not probably as present to the future because a lot of your energy is siphoned off unknowingly, unconscious energy, right? You consciously did not want to actually have any of your energy siphoned off, but probably a small or some percentage of it was getting siphoned off by defending the past, is how you described it. It's like defending the past and then having to have a judge stand before you. And instead of what most people do when they're trying to defend the past is they try to justify, defend, and explain why they did the things that they did. But instead, you were present and you made friends with the judge when it came about to kind of deciding your future. And so in a lot of ways, this is what we do in life, right? We spend a lot of time defending the past. We're not present with the future, and we're not kind to ourselves, and we go into denial about our past. And so to me, this is almost like when you talk to a lot of woo-woo people, especially people who are mediums, which are people who can talk to the dead. And what they say is that at the end of your life, what happens is your cord to this plane of reality gets cut, you get absorbed into the light. And the first part of that process is you do a life review where they look at all the decisions and things that you did in your past. So this is exactly the replica where your soul actually looks at the past and looks at everything, all the decisions and consequences and all the different repercussions of those decisions and choices. And then it looks at the future, and you have to make peace. That's what it's interesting, because you're doing the Ho'oponopono, which is forgiveness and peace and love to yourself. You're younger version of yourself that didn't know any better. The version of, there are all these, maybe the past life version of you, who knows, the auditor, the people, the decisions, all those kinds of things. You're kind of making peace with that. And so when I talk to people who are mediums, who talk to people who get stuck in this bardo kind of hellish transitionary place, it's because when they're going through the life review, they're spending more of their time and energy defending and living in the past versus accepting themselves in the future, loving themselves in the future, and learning from their past, right? Like you're saying, like now I'm actually writing down stuff when I get in the car because I learned from my past, right? That's what you ultimately want to do. So I think it's just a great metaphor for what in theory people say happens at the end of your life, where you go through a life review. You kind of just went through a life review from like 2012 to like 2017.
We did, and it taught us so much. We're certainly much stronger on our own 2 feet. We've learned we have to use these tools, the techniques, and you're right. We had to be extra kind to the both of ourselves. And then, like yesterday was literally the deadline for the audit is when we're holding our class, and the 2 dates are juxtaposed, and I got a call from her just before going to class, and I'm going, I have to choose to focus forward. I have to choose to bring in this future. The past, I will have to wait. That will have to wait just a little bit. And that's really where we've been this year through this process, is saying we can't repeat to repeat the mistake of the past is to go into a place of fear, shut off the flow, and prevent goodness from coming to us. We're not the people we were there. Not meaning we were bad people and that's why we got audited, but we can't come from that place of fear we did before, and we're not those people that we were before. And so each step I've gone, yes, that's important. Let's look forward. Yes, that's important. Let's look forward. And we've both done this dance. And Jessica, by the way, is absolute miracle worker because the auditor is like, and everything was in order. That's all Jessica, super strong in her own feet, out of that fear place, or stepping forward even if the fear is there. It's been amazing to watch her through this. So yeah, I wish this on no one ever, 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 ever.
Right.
But if you're in it, do everything you can to just raise your frequency up. I think that's the most important thing. So if the audit is getting you down, or whatever it is, the divorce or whatever thing, you have to take a step back and say, what can I do to get my energy in the right place? Mm-hmm. If your energy's in the right place, go for it.
I have another observation. Okay, I'm just doing an intuitive hit. And I'll map it to my own personal experience this week, is that you've said a couple of times that both of you are perfectionists. Mm-hmm. And so what is an audit?
And we're healing from that, or we're taking drugs, shock therapy, we're upping the voltage, and we're doing really well with it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
we're reformed.
Okay, so you're a reformed perfectionist, or you're working on your notion of perfectionism. Yeah, or like whatever, you're working on it, right? Or it's evolving.
Well,
you're understanding that it's
so
evolving.
Funny to say we're working on our perfectionism. Think about that for a second. You don't work on it. Don't
having a different relationship with perfectionism. No, because I think that what's interesting is that to have as much success as you've had, some of it is about luck and goodwill and gratitude, and some of it is just, keeping track of the call. It's about execution and flawless execution and perfectionism, right? And it's in life. When you get to the level of success that both of us have achieved, it's about actually weighing those two things. And I think that that's what's interesting in this week. And so when I'm mapping, when I'm hearing about perfectionism, I think, wow, I went through I've actually gone through myself, the idea of perfection. Like, what does it mean to be a perfect mother? Mm-hmm. What does it mean to be perfect in productivity? What does it mean to be perfect? And there's one other thing that I was exploring, productivity. There's one other area, but we go through our lives like trying to achieve some ideas of what perfection looks like, when in reality we know that there are societal definitions of those things, but the perfect is what's perfect for us at the time. Right. And so I think that,
yes,
I bet I don't know, but I wonder whether it's you're striving for perfection. Because what is an audit but someone looking at you and saying, the way that you did that is not correct. There is a
Is not
correct,
perfect.
perfect way of doing it. And what I think is so interesting is when you did talk to the women in the audit, like it wasn't perfect, right? But it was good enough. And even the parts that were not perfect and she would normally fine you with, she gave you a pass.
Yeah.
So it's like we have these expectations of when we're getting audited in life, right? Whether it's at the life review or just we self-audit ourselves what the level of perfection should be. And I think it's the work that I did, this body of energy work, was looking at those things are seductions. There are seductions from a fearful place that is saying there is an ideal, you have to achieve that ideal. And really that ideal doesn't even exist, right? They're societal constructs that we feel like we have to achieve, but they aren't real. Do you know what I mean? Like in the IRS even, it is real because they actually have these systematic guidelines. But even that wasn't real because when you actually didn't hit those systematic guidelines perfectly, they still gave you a pass.
Yeah.
I think that there's something interesting in that.
Well, there's a phrase I wrote down here. I've thought about it many times before, but the exact words hadn't congealed. And it's something we've learned from having a daily show because poop goes down and it goes down on a daily basis. And because you're juggling a lot every single day and you just have to keep juggling no matter what. So what came up is good enough is perfect.
Right. It's as perfect as you can at that moment.
Move on.
That's what you can do in the moment, right?
Yeah.
You know how they always, when you do family work or relationship work, and you're kind of pissed off at your parents because like they didn't hit the ideal expectation of what you thought a parent should be. They always say they did the best that they could at the moment, and if you assume that every person is doing the best that they can at that moment, and that what they can do today in kindergarten and high school and college and older is going to be a different good enough. But to hold yourself, to look at someone who's in kindergarten and expect that they can write and read and do things like someone can do when they're, 50 years old is an unrealistic expectation. So why do we actually place those expectations on ourselves when it's not realistic?
It's interesting because we always look back at the decisions we made and stuff, and we get upset with ourselves and we're filled with regret.
Why did I do that? Right.
But in the moment, you did that because you operated to the best of your ability with the information that you had at the moment. So it's not fair to go back and pick on yourself for that because you were trying the best you can. If you go, well, I really wasn't, I was being lazy. If you were lazy, it was because you were exhausted. And so you were still doing the best that you could.
Yeah, and I think actually, I love the insight of doing Ho'oponopono. What is it?
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono. Because really what Ho'oponopono is saying to yourself, to other people who are involved in the situation, what is it? I love you. Wait, what is it?
I love you. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you.
Right. Why? Because at the time, I did the best thing that I could at that moment. I'm sorry I couldn't do any better. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I love you because I know at the moment you did the best that you could at that moment. I love you. Thank you. I forgive you. And what's the other one?
I love you. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. It's not a beautiful thing to talk about life in general when you're not meeting your ideal expectations, which are just unrealistic anyways. Like they're just this artificial construct that we come up with based on what? I don't even know. Like I was saying, like a placing, high school math and reading on a kindergarten or a preschooler or a newborn is just kind of unrealistic because at the moment they know what they know and that's all that they are able of doing. But to kind of what we do is we beat up our younger versions of ourselves, saying like, "Why didn't you do? I should have, could have, would have," versus saying, "Yeah, I did the best I could at that moment. I love myself, and of course I would have made decisions. And probably if I were to make them at that age, at that time, I probably would make the same decision all over again."
It's interesting because we look back at that time period and we made a series of decisions that we were or have been regretful for. Which publisher that we went with, turning down Hay House, still to this day, our stomach does a little but the show wouldn't exist. The show wouldn't exist, and we never would have had the opportunities, the outreach that we have here, and the ability. Every day we're in school with another amazing person. We wouldn't have met. There's so many great things that have come out of this, but it's a time period of our lives that we did have a lot of regrets. So bring it full circle with what you're saying, doing Ho'oponopono today, and how we're finally officially putting this to rest is forgiving ourselves. And I think what you're saying is huge. If we forgive ourselves for whatever took place in the past, we remove that cork, that stuck energy, that blockage that allows things to flow again.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier. What's the theme of the show? And because now you have the ultimate freedom, right? You're letting go of whatever that perfectionism. And like I said, the reason why I keep on saying it's evolving is that there'll probably be. It's really hard for us unless we have no judgment at all and we approach things from a completely innocent way, right? Which takes time. That's a lifetime process of regaining our innocence, right? So that takes time. But so we're always going to judge, right? Until even when we continually work on ourselves, it's human nature to have some level of judgment, unless we're probably completely enlightened. We always have some level of judgment. So we're always trying to judge ourselves against a level of perfection. So it will kind of constantly evolve. But when you let go of those levels of expectation, you get freedom. And that's the ultimate thing that I think we get as a result of that, is just think about, I don't know, do you feel freer?
I do. You know, the ego's kind of a funny wiggly worm. So I think the new theme of today is the power of letting go. The ego still wants to hold on. It goes, well, I haven't seen the official paperwork. What's that going to be? And you're like, no, it doesn't matter. Let it go. And I think that really is, and there'll always be something else that comes up and something else that comes up. But originally the theme for today was the power of challenging yourself. And who did I have on recently? Pedram Shojai. An amazing individual. His show comes out, I guess, the Tuesday before this airs. And he has an amazing book called The Urban Monk. And he's put out some amazing documentaries. And he's both a Taoist priest, a Taoist priest and Oriental medicine doctor, and many other things. And he talks about when you're really stressed out in life, almost the best thing that you can do is find something even more challenging and difficult to do. But
Why is that?
Because it puts everything in perspective.
Oh, I see. Right.
All of the day-to-day stresses go away when you really throw yourself into the fire. Mm-hmm. An audit is dancing in the fire. It really is. So they're the top 5. I think it's death, divorce, audit, moving, and a new job are the top 5 most stressful events that you can go through in life. And I think when you get through one of those, and we all go through them not once, but everything comes around in circles. That doesn't mean another audit, but it's a circle of life. But when you get through that and you come out the other side, you realize that a lot of the things that you've been worried about probably don't matter nearly as much. It just doesn't matter that much. And I think that's the incredible power of being able to let go of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when my dad died, I kept on having, I don't know if I've ever told you this before. I would walk, my house got broken into, my car, someone hit my car so hard that it got smashed and like landed on the curb. I had a bunch of black cats. Mm-hmm. I'd walk along and I'd see black cats everywhere. They'd be either walking on the side of me or crossing me. I'm like, I swear, like 2 or 3 times a week, I'd run into a black cat doing this. And
this wasn't Lumi or Sir Meowsers.
No, it wasn't. But it was one of those things where I was getting like signals, right? And I was thinking, oh, crap, I just got robbed. They stole all of this jewelry and expensive jewelry, and actually my most expensive jewelry. And then my car got bashed in, and then my dad died. And you know what? All that other stuff, my dad did not make a difference. when my dad died, it was like, okay, now this is the way more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Losing all those other things are stupid. You know what I mean? Not stupid. At the time, it's really bad. Like when I got my house broken into, it was really bad. And I thought this could be like the worst thing that could happen. But it got worse. But really, it's the thing that it is the most challenging thing that makes you recognize just how hard it is. I agree with you, though. And it's actually good to have those things. That's interesting. I like his perspective on that. I don't know if I want to. I think, to me, out of a attitude of self-love, I don't think I'd want to do that.
Well, he was saying it fairly. I'm sure I didn't put it quite right. He was saying that if you challenge yourself, he doesn't want anybody. He's on a mission. I love his fire, his energy. He's on a mission that nobody should play it small this lifetime. That to play it small is a waste of the gift that you came here with, and it drives him completely insane. And so he's saying, if the regular world is driving you nuts and you're really stressed out by it, it probably means you aren't playing your biggest game. Go play the bigger game, and none of that's going to matter.
Yeah, and you know what? I have to say that, you remember, of course, this summer when I kept on taking job after job and had 4 jobs.
Four jobs!
Is basically... just basically
that's not what he was saying. But it worked.
No, but having done that, it did exactly the thing that you were talking, to put everything in perspective. And one of the things that it did, and I was doing the radio show, but doing it every other week. But what it taught me was I could do a lot less than I was doing in terms of prep work for the radio, because I had reached a certain level of mastery that I hadn't really recognized consciously, that I could do a lot less and be perfectly fine. Now, are my stats the same as they were when I was doing it full time? No. I thought it was going to be like cut in half, or like it's not commensurate with the amount of work that I put in. Like I would say the amount of work that I put in is probably 80% less than I used to, but my traffic results are probably 5 to 10% less. So even the shift that I did in terms of shifting the level of perfection that I thought I needed, when that shifted because I had so much work, then I relaxed all those standards. And there really wasn't a huge shift in the actual results, which I was convinced that there would be. And there was.
Are you feeling better and have more time and energy that you're not putting in that direction?
Yes, yeah. I mean, because I don't put as much time and energy reaching this perfect, idealistic state for my radio show, I have done more coaching. I did a bunch of group coaching. And I'm finding like those pieces are so enriching and fun, and I don't know, they're bringing life in things that I didn't do when I was marking up articles for SEO optimization and putting in all all that kind of marketing pieces that I did that took so much time. When I cut those pieces out and I would skim the books versus read all the books. Literally what I do now is I muscle test. I look at the chapters and I'm saying, which one should I read? And I muscle test which ones. And so I'm like, I only read 2 or 3. And if I read a chapter, I'm like, I don't even like how this person writes, then I actually won't even read any of the book, which I would have never done before. So that area of prep work is changed. I used to write out a whole script and do SEO optimization. I don't do anything. I just look at the book and say, all right, I have kind of roughly an idea of where I'm going to go. And then I just ask questions. I don't have I have like a rough game plan in my head, but that's only because I've been doing this for 5 years. So I know enough to kind of wing it. I wouldn't have been able to do that the very first time, but I'm at the level where I'm probably at the same number or level of shows that you've done. You've just done them in a really concentrated period of time where I'm like, I can let go of a bunch of different things. And that letting go, that freedom ended up creating space. And that space got filled up with something that feels a lot more enriching. Awesome. And the results don't have a huge change.
And I would guess, if I were to ask, that you enjoy the interviews more.
I do. Yeah. Do I? I always enjoy interviews. I don't know if I enjoy them anymore because I enjoy them so much. That I don't know if, you know what I mean? Like getting from a 9 to like a 9.25. Yeah. Like I don't know if I'm there, but it's at 9. So like,
Well,
I enjoy it because I don't have to spend as much time
that's
doing
it. Before you were cutting back and you weren't sure how much of it you were going to do. And I remember a point about a year ago where you're saying, I'm probably going to be out of this after a while, that I'm
Yeah.
moving on. And then when you took that step back and threw you into 4 fires at once,
Yeah.
you're like, wait a second, that interviewing thing, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I missed it. I started really missing it. So I thought, well, why do you miss it? What is fun about it? And why would you cut something that's fun out of your life? How can you make that part fun by cutting some of the things that you used to do about it that don't fill you with, a sense of happiness? Anyways, I think actually, so my thing was fun and freedom. What did I say? I was going to talk about fun and freedom. But
Fun, freedom, and work.
Fun, freedom, and work. That's what right? So it's like I'm optimizing towards fun. That gives me more freedom to do the things I love. And that work doesn't have to be, because what happens, I think, when you're at your age, starting with your 30s, 40s, and it just keeps on going up a ramp till the point that we've put so many delusional filters on that we can't see anymore, is we forget that work can be fun. In some ways, we forgo our freedom. And now, when I look back at my life in version 1, version 2, and now I'm actually version 3 of my life, I can see I gave up so much of that. I can see in hindsight that I gave up so much of it. I understand why, but I'm now trying to regain some of that. And that's actually a sense of awareness that takes a lot of time to even recognize, to boil down. What are the 3 things that you lose? But I think it's the innocence, which relates to fun, which relates to freedom. We kind of lose that stuff, and we lose aspects of ourselves when we go through this transition throughout the course of our life. And so now I'm kind of regaining those things back.
Which is a woohoo!
Yeah, it's a woohoo! And how? Through doing the things that you just did. Going back, forgiving myself, and relaxing these expectations on perfection.
It's, if somebody hits a tree, literally or figuratively, they end up in the hospital, they have a huge traumatic event, a death, one of these top 5 things here, it can be the opportunity we need to go, hey, wait a second. Everything can change in a heartbeat just like that. I might as well have more fun now. Because I literally don't know if I have tomorrow. We did everything we could, and then we got this massive audit. How could we have tried harder? Instead, and so what we learned through that is, instead of trying to be perfect about life and hold on with a death grip and not enjoy anything, just enjoy. And Jessica was saying that this morning. Just be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. And so we can use these things, or listening to shows like this, to start to give us a glimpse. Like you said, it takes a lot of work to cultivate this awareness, but we're challenging everybody here today to start cultivating that awareness of going, wait, does this actually serve me? If I stay an hour at the office, if I try to get all these I's dotted and T's crossed, at the end of the day, does any of this really, really matter?
Right. If I get hit by a car, if I slip while I'm running on the rocks and I die at this moment, will I look back and go, oh, I'm so glad that I stayed an hour later versus hanging out with my family and cuddling on the couch, right? Like, really, what's more important? I don't know. And it kind of depends. But I think that, it's kind of asking yourself that question. And you actually, in some ways, I think the greatest gift of life is to have some type of death happen, whether it's you who have died twice, or my dad dying, which his death, which happened when I was 34, and it recolored and reshaped everything. I feel like I can live more because I saw the importance of life through his death. And I'm sure you did. I don't know what your relationship to life changed when you died twice.
The first time, I was not the same person when I came back. Completely different. Same likes for the most part, but completely different priorities, completely different understanding of what's important. With that said, it wasn't, there was such a boomerang after effect of ego. Well, you've been through this experience. You should be this way now. What?
Right.
And so ego didn't die.
Right.
Ego slapped me. So, with that said, the second time around, when I came back, I had barely enough blood. I had many, many transfusions. And they made the positive mistake, if we can call it a mistake, a positive gift. In the hospital room a couple days later, the PTs were trying to get me mobile again. And they're saying, if you don't get mobile now, the body will never get going. And I'm like, look, I'm the most motivated dude in the world.
Don't worry about that.
We'll be fine. And eventually they pretty much, I called them the silver foxes. They were these crafty older PT women who were just amazing human beings. And they kind of dragged me out of bed, got me down the hall with a walker or something. And I think they needed an emergency wheelchair to get me back to the bed. My blood values all crashed through the floor. It was too much on the body, and it couldn't handle that. And my red blood cells were dying left and right.
Wow.
And the doctor's having one of those really serious talks with you of this is a very, very bad sign. Implication, you might not make it. And he's like, so I think we should give you a lot more blood, and we should give you a lot more blood right away. I don't know why your body is all blood cells are dying. And I said, is it required to get more blood now? And they're like, not required at this point, extremely recommended. And I said, I'm going to hold off for now. I said,
oh, wow.
There's a risk. It may be a small risk, but there is a risk with every blood transfusion. Plus, I've already got a lot of other people's cells moving around in my body right now. That feels like enough. I can do this. I'm going to rebuild it on my own. It meant a couple months where, at least for the first few weeks, I literally didn't have the strength to raise my head up off of the pillow. Trying to figure out how to use the facilities, even if it was basically a bucket on the couch, was incredibly challenging. And I spent a couple months that way. But out of that, my appreciation for life, my willing to let go of a lot of the went up. It changed. What I didn't get that first time, I got it with that.
Okay,
time
can I give you my insight? I don't know whether this is true or not, so I'm going to try to wing a possible insight. Okay, and then I'll give you a little Taoist interpretation of all of this, because I had the same insight. Okay, so my sense about it is you died once, and you had said that it made a huge shift, but those shifts didn't necessarily cement. There's still some things that didn't really transform, because there's still a part of you. I'm going to put words into your mouth, but this is my educated guess. There is a part of you that's still kind of defining self based on others. You know, it's like, because what is ego? Ego is actually the interface between your innermost self, ego, and then the external. And ego is like this interface that's trying to connect to make sure you fit into the world, you make everything work. You know, it's a great thing, even though we demonize ego, but it's the interface between your innermost self and the outer world and creating that connection. So you died, right? And then there's still this part that's like, I'm still here. Here's what the external world is saying, you know, and you're like, okay. So then the second time you died, actually what happened is your innermost self said, thank you. I know you're trying to help me. I know the blood transfusion, like, you know, scientifically proven, and the nurses, like, I know you guys externally are trying to help me, but my innermost self is taking over. And I know, because my body says so, I feel so, I know deep inside that I know you're trying to do great things, and I love you. And I know my innermost self is now in control. And you know what? I can't take that blood transfer. And like I said, I can't walk down the hall. I know that's the best advice externally, right? But I know that's what you've found, but I can't do it because my innermost self says no. I think that's the difference between V1 and V2 of your death.
It's weird.
Does that sound right?
I actually they moved me on the last day I was in the hospital. They moved me from from one room to the other because they were doing like this whole wing cleaning. In fact, they were closing the wing, but I was staying there because I was going to be going home. I was going to an angel of a new friend who allowed us to stay in her couch in her living room for weeks before I had the strength to actually take an airplane. And we love you, Denise. We love you. We love you. We love you. And I was in this other hospital room, and one of the nurses came in who had labeled me as a troublemaker. And I had this very talk. I said, I'm coming to you from a loving, caring place, but no, I have to listen to what my voice is telling me. I'm not being a troublemaker. I'm not trying to do anything that you don't want to do, but I hear what I need to do right now, and that's what I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So here's my Taoist. Do you want to hear my Taoist interpretation?
Go for it. This is a surprising show, CJ. I'm liking this.
Okay, so I've had, you know that as of last February, I had some like gigantic energetic shift. And it's kind of a Kundalini awakening. And what they say with Kundalini awakening, it's energy that's moving through you. And as a result of you being able to hold more energy, you may have some energetic blockages. So as that energy, so just imagine like a gigantic, I don't know, flood happens of water, and there's like rocks that are standing in the way. So they're going to be shaken up. So with Kundalini, you have these kind of shakes. They either look like this, they go forward like this for me, or they look sideways. But it's energy
serpentine, one way or the other. It's a wave.
It's like a wave where your body has so much energy coming in and so much energy going. It's like a big circle that your body is trying to process this energy. And this is my new insight into it. And so when you have interference, which there's going to be, because I'm not perfect. I have still issues. I have blockages, thought, mind, and body, spirit that are there. So the Kundalini is just these shakes, and these shakes have been happening all the time now. I think that there are probably ways of controlling them, and I'm not that self-conscious about it, that I'm like, whatever, like they're just happening. It's like a hiccup in my mind. And so like when you hiccup, you say, oh, excuse me. Like I'll literally be at the doctor and they'll touch me in a certain way and I'll get an energetic charge and they're like, does that hurt? I'm like, no, it's just energy, ignore it. And then we go on. Or I'll be talking to a client and they'll say something, and like when something is really true, energy rushes through me now, and I'm like, that's true. And I'm like, that's my signal for. So I'm able to integrate these shakes, and the other thing that's happening is when you're having so much energy move through you, your body is processing so many toxins, right? Because you're letting go of all the stuff in the past, and who knows what you're letting go of, but your immunological system gets too taxed that it can't handle it. So I'm getting hives. But it's really distressing, right? It's not fun to be talking to you and, it's like a freak. And I try to normalize it, but you still, like, in the back of my head, it still feels freaky. And I've been waking up in the middle of the night, hotter than, and it's not menopause. It may be menopause combined with this other thing, but it's all these toxins. I'm getting hives. So it's not comfortable. Like I want to itch myself uncontrollably all over the place at a certain time. So it's not fun. So there's a part of me that goes, okay, it is what it is. You stressing about it is not helping anything. But what the Taoist thing that I recognize is that you have these shakes, you have these challenges in life that are fundamentally trying to shake you up. And I saw two forms of nature like this. I saw in Seattle, it's really never really that cold, but it's been in the 30s. So we have a big lake, and it was frozen over. I haven't seen that in my entire 20 years of living in Seattle ever, this lake ever freezing, but it froze. And people are so this lake frozen is so enigmatic that people are taking gigantic stones, they're taking paper cups, they're taking their children, they're putting them on the lake to see what will break it.
And they're taking their pickup trucks. No.
It's curious because we are familiar with ice. So someone took a rock that was like literally this big, just big honking rock, and they threw it in the lake. And you can see all the fissures, right? Like so all the kind of the equivalent of throwing a rock into a lake. You see all the ripple effects of that gigantic rock being thrown into the lake. And then what would happen is that this gigantic thing hit, and then what happened is there was these cracks, and then what happened is it got cold again, so the environment stayed exactly the same, and it was still ice. So you could see the little fissures and everything, but fundamentally it was still ice. And so I thought, well, isn't that a wonderful Taoist metaphor for life? You could have a big conking rock challenge in your life. You could throw it in the ice, and you're going to have like a ripple, or a crack, or something's going to happen. But if you keep the same environmental influences the same, all that's going to happen is there's going to be a crack in the ice, and there'll be a pattern, right? You'll see the pattern of the ice, but fundamentally it's still ice. And I was thinking, well, that's so interesting, because that's a metaphor for life, right? You can throw a big honking IRS piece of crap in there, boom,
And my Michaelism, my my divine self is still my divine self.
Yeah, right. It's exactly where you were is not all that different, because all the environmental. And I thought, well, how is that different than what I'm feeling, like heat and light? Like I'm feeling a lot of heat and light. And what I got was like when Pele goes in, she has this entropy, right, where she goes in and she's like heating all the rocks to the point that they melt and they become one. And then she spews out and then creates brand new land. Right? That's a very different way of, it's like you melt away so much what was there before that it cannot even, it's entropied. It's changed form entirely, that by the time it goes out to the external world, it actually changes and creates new earth, which is so, and I thought, wow, isn't that an interesting metaphor for life too? Because if I map it to what you just said, right? You were ice, died once, big crack in the ice, died, and then you kind of like, you could see the fissures, but you basically refroze into the same configuration, whereas the second time around, you died the second time around, and so much had changed fundamentally that inside it, like the inner part melted away, and then you were creating externally versus like, you're like, no, I'm not, you can call me the troublemaker, you can do whatever you want, and I love you. Ho'oponopono, I love you, I forgive you, thank you. I'm sorry. But like, I'm creating new land. And that, like, that's what I see as the difference between V1 and V2.
Yeah, no, I would buy that. I would buy that. And I'm remembering the exact why she was calling me a troublemaker, because I'm going through this. I'm going, why was it? It was because I wouldn't accept the morphine. And that got me labeled as troublemaker. So I guess the last thing, what we're going to do to celebrate tonight is because it's actually, we've had a lot of work to do with this and holding our group coaching class, is our date night is going out to get kitty litter.
Yay!
There's a cat there because 2 cats is the limit in this house. We can't get another cat right now. She's fallen in love with a cat at a rescue cat at the store. So until that cat gets rescued, because it's in a cage every day, we're going to go pick up some kitty litter and say hi to the kitty.
I love it. That is a perfect way for you to celebrate. I hope you're also doing something fun for yourself aside from fun for your
We'll have
cat.
to do a whole bunch of woohoo, woohoo,
I'm
woohoo.
so
We'll be
happy for
crying
you.
and dancing and who knows what out of this, because we've learned, and I can hear the wiggly worm ego in there. You're not going to win this one. It's so important that we celebrate the victories in our lives, to celebrate the punk. If you want more good stuff to happen, then when good stuff happens, you gotta celebrate it. You owe it to yourself.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to dance a jig or 2 or 3 in a big way, whatever that looks like. Woohoo! So on that note, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
DJ Lou
saying, be well, have fun, let go of anything you can, yes, be a troublemaker, and shine bright. Woohoo! Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!